Hello and welcome to another episode of Meanbrews. Today we're covering Belgian Golden Strong. Let's get right into the recipes. We have 30 award-winning Belgian Golden Strong recipes in the data, 3 of which were best of show, 12 gold, 2 silver, 5 bronze, and 8 were award-winning. The BJCP style is 25C, a pale, complex, effervescent, strong Belgian-style ale that is highly attenuated and features fruity and hoppy notes in preference to phenolics. So this is more of an estery beer. This was a style that was supposed to compete with the Belgian or the Pilsners out there that came into the market from the Germanic states. When we look at this data set, we're seeing a little bit of evolution over time, which is kind of surprising. And but the difference between recipes over time is not that much. There's very little variation. For the original gravity, we saw anywhere between 1.056 and 1.102, a little outside of the range both. This was surprising. You really don't see this on the competition circuit where the average 1.077 original gravity is lower than the middle of the BJCP range. And you're also seeing, mine's going to be a little bit low as well. You're also seeing that go down with time. And there's a couple theories here that I have. One is, the bigger beers may compete with those complex or those, nuanced hop and ester profiles that you want in this style, and they may be showing up more in competition at the lower gravities. Or the other theory is people are brewing Belgian blondes or triples or some other lower gravity or a saison and entering it as a Belgian Golden Strong and winning with those recipes. Either way, the perception to the style is not a huge beer. So you can see in my recipe, I'll be shooting for the lower end of the range. Very surprising. IBUs anywhere between 20 and 40. The mean was right at 30. That's not changing with time, so I will stay right at the mean, which is right in the middle of the BJCP range. That does mean that even though the IBUs aren't changing because the original gravity is, your BU-GU ratio is changing over time. So it is getting hoppier over time, perception-wise, not IBU-wise. Color, we see anywhere between 2.5 and 10.5. I think this recipe was an anomaly over here. The mean was 4.5, which was right there in the middle of the range. And I'm going to be a little bit above 4. That's just where it ends up with the recipe that I have. We are seeing that color come down over time to be reflective of less adjuncts and less other specialty malts being added to this beer. For the malt percentages, the average was 84.7% base malt. The next most prominent was adjuncts. These are your simple sugars or flake malts or flaked grains. 14% adjunct, 1% crystal, and 0.2% toast. That factors in all the zeros. So if a recipe had 0 toasted malts in it, that'll bring that average down. And when you look at them with just the recipes that use those malts, 100% of the recipes used base malt, of course, at an average of around 85% of the grist. And I will be using this right under that number, and I'll show you why. If I look at the other types of malts, the next most prominent, 100% of the recipes used adjuncts at an average of about 10 to 15% of the grist. And then crystal and toast were both less than a quarter of the recipes used some crystal malts or some toasted malts. I will be using higher than the mean on the adjuncts, right at 17.5% for simple sugars. Base malts, when you look at the base malts, the most prominent was Pilsner malt, either a Belgian Pilsner, or German Pilsner, or even American Pilsner. Somewhere between 55 to 95% of the grist was Pilsner malt. The next most prominent was wheat, Vienna, or light Munich. I will be using, 83% of the grist was the average for the Pilsner malt. I will be using a little bit less than that, probably about 77% of the grist is Pilsner malt, and the rest I'm going to use Vienna. And you might be asking, why am I picking this? When I looked holistically across all of the recipes, if I just followed the data and my normal trends of if it's in a third of the recipes or more, I would just be picking Pilsner and simple sugars. That's it. But when you look at the recipes in the suite, there's more than 50% of the recipes that contained, I think it was around 60-70% of the recipes contained something else to give it some more flavor, or a Munich or a toasted malt or a crystal malt, something kind of added a little something to it. So this is one of my favorite, if not my favorite style of beer. And I've tried many different variations. I've used wheat before, flaked wheat malt, and I've settled on Vienna, just giving me that graininess, especially with the additional simple sugars that I'm adding in that 17%. I find if I use the Pilsner at 80-20 to simple sugars, it just tastes too much like cider. You get way too much of a cidery note to it. And that Vienna just gives it a graininess that really just pairs well with it. And so I'm kind of following, this is a little deviation from Meanbrews, but I'm sharing my experience. And I hope you'll try it because I really enjoy this recipe. So again, I will be adding around 6% Vienna malt to the grist as a base malt. Crystal and toasted malts, most prominent was Carapils, followed by a light crystal, and then aromatic and honey and biscuit malts were in a single recipe each. Won't be using any of these in my recipe. Adjuncts, clear candy sugar, the clear winner, followed by, and I think 50% of the recipes used a clear or light candy sugar, an average of 12% of the grist. The range here for simple sugars range between 50 and 25%, with the sweet spot being around 15%. But again, we are seeing that trend go up to 15-20% over time. I will be actually using dextrose, and I'll explain why. I've done both Belgian candy sugar, I've done dextrose, I've done sucrose. To me, sucrose gives you a bit of a harsh note. So I don't recommend sucrose, but I can't tell a difference between dextrose and candy sugar in the finished beer. Cannot. And they're both very easily fermented by the yeast, and you save a bit of money by going with corn sugar over Belgian candy sugar. If you want to, go ahead and invert this sugar if you want to get something more like that. But again, I can't find a difference, so might as well pick something that saves you a little bit of money here. Malt bill change, I'm looking at two aspects of the malt bill. The top curve is the use of Pilsner malt over time, and we're seeing that clear delineation both for that and the use of adjuncts over time. This is a percentage. This should be percentages over here. From 90% of the grist to, something mid-70s for Pilsner malt, and for the adjuncts from about 5 to 7% up to almost 20. You can see why I picked 17.5. That's kind of the mid-range here. So it kind of correlates to what I'm doing with my recipe. And then, I've tried this straight up 80-20% Pilsner. Pilsner to simple sugar, and like I said, it comes out very cidery to my tastes. So cutting that with a little bit of Vienna, cutting back a little bit on the simple sugars, really gives a good balance there. Bittering hops, there were 12 different bittering hops used. A tie between Saaz and Styrian Goldings. Tet, Magnum, and Fuggles rounded that out, and Northern Brewer rounded that out to more than 3/4 of the recipes using those hops. I'll be sticking with Saaz. Flavor hops, there were 4 different flavor hops used. Saaz was the most prominent, 40%, followed by Styrian Goldings, Laurel, and Hallertauer. I will be using Saaz for flavor hops. Excuse me. Aroma hops, there were 6 recipes, or 6 different aroma hops used. Saaz is the most prominent, 37, followed by Styrian Goldings and some others. I will be using Saaz hops for my aroma hops for this recipe. When you look at hop selection over time, here I'm showing the Saaz use as a bittering hop. It was tied with Styrian Goldings in the beginning. Styrian Goldings used as a bittering hop. That's declining. Saaz is going up. And Saaz is a flavor hop. When it comes to the bittering, talking about the bittering hops here, I think it's people just wanting to buy one hop. It really isn't going to reflect itself in the beer very much. So that's what I'm going to do with my recipe, so that you stick with one hop variety. It will be Saaz all the way through. And then, just more prominent use of bittering hops over time, or Saaz as a flavor and aroma hop over time is the yellow curve. For the rate of hopping, this, order of magnitude difference between high and low. Anywhere between 0.05 to 0.5 ounces per gallon. Right at the sweet spot to around, this is one ounce in a 5-gallon batch. So both at the flavor and aroma addition, both of these, used in high proportions, 2/3 of the recipes use the flavor addition, and more than half use an aroma addition. So I'm going to use both in mine, and I'm going to be a little bit high on the aroma from the mean, and that's because we're seeing percentage of recipes that use those hops going up, and the ounce per gallon of the aromas going up to about that 0.2 ounce per gallon that I showed you before. Mash type, surprised here. Really thought I'd see more step mashes. Reading Brew Like a Monk, they really recommend it. But with today's well-modified grains, a single infusion mash is sufficient. And 75% of the recipes use a single infusion, which is what I'm going to do here. The step mashes, we saw Alpha Rest was 151 or 66 Celsius for 75 minutes was the average. If you want to do a protein rest, the average was 126. And if you want to do a beta, 146 for beta rest. I won't be doing those. I will be doing a single infusion at 151 for 75 minutes. Boil duration anywhere between 60 and 90 minutes with a bias towards the longer boil for that DMS and to get the gravity you need. Typically for these larger beers, you need a longer boil to concentrate the sugars. 82 minutes was the mean, but I'll be doing a 90-minute boil. All right, this is where the fun stuff happens. The yeast use the Duvel strain, the most prominent, of course. And I don't know if I presented it, but over time, this is becoming more and more prominent. 55% of the recipes used White Labs 570 or Yeast 1388, followed by some others in one or two recipes each. I will be using the Duvel strain, a total of 9 yeasts used. Water chemistry. I'll just give you the averages here if you want to see the ranges to see. They were all over the place. 53 parts per million calcium, 10 magnesium, 21 sodium, 68 sulfate, and 40 chloride. So pretty balanced profile with an emphasis on the sulfates, which you'd expect with this being a more hop-forward beer. Yeah, I'll be right there on the means for everything except the calcium. Fermentation temperatures were anywhere between 60 and 85. These were the Saison recipes. So when you look at the Duvel strain, it was limited between 60 and 75. The average for all of them was 69 Fahrenheit. This is the starting temperature. I think the ending temperature was 75. I'm not sure if I show that here. But I will be starting at 67 with the Duvel strain. And oh, yes, I did. So I will be letting that free rise up to 75 Fahrenheit, which was the average finishing temperature for this strain of yeast. Other variables, pretty highly carbonated, which is to style, 3.2 volumes. So bottle conditioning is preferred over kegging. You'll have difficulty serving this out of a keg with 3.2 volumes. Mash pH was around 5.33 average. All right, now on to the recipe. I'm going to start with 77% Dingemann's Pilsen malt, followed by 17.5% dextrose and 6% of Vienna malt. For my hops, I'm going to get 24 IBUs at the start of 60 minutes into the boil. Remember, I'm doing a 90-minute boil. I'm going to add 0.18. Should have left off these. Ignore these numbers. These are for a 5-gallon batch or a 5.5-gallon batch. 0.18 ounce per gallon of Sots at 15 minutes and 0.2 ounce per gallon of Sots at 0 minutes. I'll put in the recipe on the conversions to metric here. So in the description, or you can just do it yourself. It's not that hard. What else here? Yes, and the yeast I'm using is Yeast 1388 Belgian Strong Ale. This is the Duvel strain. This yeast can be kind of finicky. A lot of people like to sugar feed this yeast and double oxygenate. I have sugar fed before, but I think the trick with this yeast is to stress it enough so that you get those wonderful esters, but not too much that it stalls out. So don't build too big of a starter. Probably about in a 5-gallon batch, maybe a 1 to 2 liter starter, vitality starter at best. And then if you sugar feed, that would probably be the best way to ensure you're going to get the attenuation you need, rather than just ramping it up to crazy temperatures and waiting it out. I'm going to shoot for original gravity 1.075 and 30 IBUs. For my water chemistry, I presented that before, but I'll repeat it here. 23 parts per million calcium, 9 magnesium, 21 sodium, 40 chloride, 67 sulfate, and 16 bicarbonate, whatever's left over. Shooting for a mash pH of 5.33. Use your favorite mash. Acid, lactic, or phosphoric works great. Infusion mash for 75 minutes at 149 Fahrenheit or 65 Celsius. Mash out, sparge, and boil for 90 minutes. Chill it to 65 Fahrenheit or 18 Celsius. And pitch that's a 1 liter starter. And that's the wrong yeast. 1388 is the yeast you want. Sorry about that. And ferment at 67 and let it free rise itself to 75. You may need to go up above that. It's fine if you do. Hold it for 1 to 2 weeks to make sure it attenuates. If you've got a tilt, monitor this. If you see it slow down, start picking the temperature up. Transfer it to a bottle. If you're bottling it, use Belgian bottles and carbonate it to 3.2 volumes. If you're kegging, probably stick within the high 2s, 2.5, 2.6, somewhere around there, so that you can serve it without getting full foam glasses. And that's it. Next video, since we're coming up on spring, I thought a Maybach would be a good recipe to cover next. So that is a big Helles Bock, a light-colored German Bock beer that's just delicious and wonderful for spring. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you in the next video. Oh, and don't forget, you can purchase this recipe at Bacchus and Barleycorn. Link will be in the description. Till next time, goodbye.